Welcome to another episode of Truth from the Trail. I am on the Strawberry Gap Trail that connects to the Troubadour Trail, I think I'm saying that right, which is right across from the Bear Wallow Trail outside of Hendersonville, North Carolina. It's a conglomeration of trails that it's not a loop, it just connects. You go one way to Bear Wallow, the other way toward this Strawberry Gap Trail, passing the Blue Ridge pastures, and it's a beautiful area. I'll show you pictures of it. Beautiful overlooks, huge field. This Blue Ridge pastures is a beautiful field. The trail is rocky, as all trails are. Parts of it are steep, downhill, uphill. Parts of it are nice, flat, lush ferns on each side. A short section of it is you got to beware of a lot of poison ivy. Hey, look, big thank you to whoever, it's probably volunteers, that are out here on certain sections of it with weed eaters, and they're cleaning the trail to keep the poison ivy and the briars from crossing over into the trail. Those guys are the real heroes for hikers. And a big thank you to you if you're one of those, or if you do it anywhere else. You can't imagine how much hikers, whether it's a day hiker, a section hiker, long trail hiker, whatever, we really appreciate what you do. It's usually thankless, and you're a hero, so just keep that in mind. Let me share with you a fairly familiar story as we look at truth from the trail. The story comes, as all of them recently have, from the early ministry of Jesus. And as he's passing through the countryside, and gnats are attacking me, as he's passing through the countryside, and this particular story, he starts a trend that he's going to do in the way he presents stories. And it goes like this. As Jesus was ministering, he told a parable, and he told the people that there was a farmer, and the farmer went out to scatter seed to grow a crop. And as he scattered the seed, some of the seed fell along the road, and the birds came down and ate the seed. Other seed fell on the rocky edges of the road, and it immediately grew. But then, because there was no soil there to grab a root to, when the sun came up and shone down on the plant died. Other seed fell among thorns and thistles, and the thorns grew up and choked the plant, and the plant would die. Another group of the seed fell in good soil, and it made a foundation, and it grew, and it produced fruit. Some small fruit, medium fruit, large fruit, but it all produced fruit. Let those who have ears to hear, let them hear. Well, later, Jesus' disciples asked him, so why are you teaching in parables? And he said, well, because if you get it, then you'll understand and you'll adapt to what I'm teaching. If you don't get it and your heart doesn't accept it and receive it, then you're not. And let me tell you about this parable that I just taught the people. The one throwing, the farmer throwing the seed, is the person scattering and spreading and sharing the word, the truth. And some of that truth, the seed fell among the hard roadside, and it didn't grow. The birds came down and ate it. And he said, that's Satan. That as soon as the seed, the word is spread, Satan comes along and takes it away and steals it. Other seed fell along the road and in the gravel and the rocks, and immediately grew, but because there was no good soil, it didn't make roots, and it couldn't have life, and it died. And that's the seed, the truth that comes along, and people say, yeah, I like that, and they jump on the bandwagon, and they receive the seed, the truth, and for a little while it looks really good, and then the pressures of life and the stress and the problems come along, and it kills it, and it dies because there was no good soil for it to grow in. Other seed falls among the thorns and the briars and the thistles. And that's the seed, the truth, the word that is choked out by the cares of this world, the love of money and the desires of the sinful lifestyle. And they choke out the word. But then other word falls on fertile soil and is accepted and grows and produces fruit. Little fruit, some fruit, a lot of fruit, but it all produces fruit. And that was the end of the story. And Jesus, as most people know, taught a lot in parables. So as we think about it, it doesn't take a lot of examination to see in fact, Jesus gave us the life lessons for this story. Very easy life lessons for this story. The first one, when he starts talking about the birds coming down and getting the seed that's just laying there on top, and he said that was Satan. Now, look, I realize everybody doesn't believe in a literal Satan, a devil, but can't we agree on the fact that there is evil in the world? Personally, with a biblical worldview, I believe there's a literal Satan, but maybe you don't, but I think we can agree that there's evil in the world, and as soon as truth goes out, that evil tries to steal it. In our last episode, we talked about how the world tries to cancel God's truth. And that's what this is all about, is that as soon as that truth goes out, Satan or evil, however you want to word it, comes along and wants to steal that truth away, truth that will give people life. And so the first life lesson for me is to be aware of the fact that Satan and evil wants to steal truth from me to rob me of joy and life. To quote the old, very old book title, Satan is alive and well on planet Earth. I believe that. The next group of seed, and it's interesting, as a kid, I grew up working on a farm in the Mississippi Delta. And I know for a fact how much work, how much money, how much labor goes into preparing the soil. That second group of the seeds fell along the edge of the road where there was gravel. And there was no good soil under the seed for the seed to have a root, a foundation. And it grew, but then the sun came up, the heat choked it out and killed it because there was no root. Farmers do a lot of work making sure the plants can have a good root system. And when there's no root, what can I do to have good roots as a follower of Jesus? Well, there's Bible study, there's prayer, there's Christian fellowship, there's going to a good church and being fed the truth. Look, I don't, you do what you want to do, but I don't want to go to a church where they're teaching and preaching watered down, culturally adaptable social gospel. I want to get the truth from the Bible, a biblical worldview. And so that gives me a foundation, root system. Some of the seed fell among thorns, and that one's obvious. The desires of life, the love of money, the sinful pleasure, all the things that choke out the truth in our lives. Someone asked me one time, they said, when I go a certain place with a certain group of friends, I do things I really regret, and I don't want to do those. Do you have any wise counsel for me? I said, yeah, that's not rocket science. Don't go to those places with those people. We have to remove those negative influences from our lives that lead us to do things we don't want to do. At least that's the truth for me. So the life lesson there is that we need to be careful what's influencing our lives. That seed trying to grow, all those bad things were choking it out. Then finally, some seed fell in good soil, soil that had been prepared, soil that was ready to hear and receive. Jesus said, if you got ears, hear. When you hear with not just these ears, but the ears of our heart, when we hear, we receive. And that we create roots and we grow and we produce fruit. And that's good, fun living. And so it's a great story, great life lessons for me to pay attention to in my life, and hopefully some life lessons for you to pay attention to in your life. Are you producing fruit? I hope so. I bet you are. Some people wonder why I do this. Why do I hike? Why do I go up to the Appalachian Trail? Why do I hike around here in Western North Carolina? Let me show you, and the camera's gonna shake just a little bit as I get up and do a little walking and pay attention to where I'm going. But I wanna show you why I do this. On this Strawberry Gap Trail, goes up to this overlook. And as I walk out on this overlook, let me turn the camera around and just show you some of what I'm seeing. Now do you kind of see why I love to do it? It's just the beauty of God's creation, the beauty of the mountains. And I don't know what elevation I'm at, but it is some kind of pretty up here in Western North Carolina. I hope to see you next time on Truth from the Trail.